The desert wind howled like a distant lament, carrying the faint scent of sagebrush and sun-baked earth as the sun dipped low on the horizon, painting the cracked asphalt in hues of blood orange. In the shadow of a derelict gas station on the outskirts of a forgotten town, a small boy, no older than 7, huddled against the rusted pumps, his thin frame shaking not just from the chill creeping in with twilight. His clothes were torn at the sleeves, dirt-streaked face smeared with tears that carved clean paths down his cheeks. He clutched a frayed stuffed bear to his chest, its button eyes staring blankly into the void, while muffled sobs escaped his lips, echoes of a terror that no child should know. The station's neon sign flickered erratically, casting erratic shadows that danced like ghosts around him, abandoned and alone as the last truckers of the day rumbled past without a glance. From the east, the low growl of a single motorcycle engine cut through the dusk, a solitary beast slicing the silence. Noah Harlan, a weathered man in his late 40s with a salt and pepper beard, framing a face etched by years of hard miles and harder choices, throttled down as he approached the station. His leather cut, patched with the emblem of the Iron Vow, a faded promise etched in iron and ink, hung heavy on his broad shoulders. He'd been riding aimless circuits for months, chasing ghosts from a war that had claimed too many brothers and left him with scars that pulled tight in the cold. The boy caught his eye first, a tiny figure swallowed by the vast emptiness, and Noah's gut twisted. He killed the engine, the sudden quiet amplifying the child's whimpers, and swung his leg over the bike, boots crunching on gravel as he approached with the caution of someone who'd seen innocence shattered too many times. "Hey, kid," Noah said softly, his voice gravel-rough but laced with an unexpected gentleness, kneeling to eye level without crowding the boy. The child flinched, eyes wide as saucers, but didn't run, perhaps too exhausted, or maybe recognizing the quiet authority in the stranger's stance. Up close, Noah saw the faint bruises blooming like dark flowers on the boy's arms, signs of aggression that spoke of neglect or worse, hidden beneath the grime. "You lost. What's your name?" The boy hesitated, wiping his nose on his sleeve before whispering, "Liam, they left me here." His voice cracked, a fragile thread in the gathering dark. Noah's jaw tightened. He'd pulled over for worse reasons on emptier roads, but this felt different, a pull like an old oath resurfacing from the depths. As the boy spoke in halting fragments, stories of a rundown trailer park, a father lost to the bottle, a mother vanished into the night. Noah's mind raced back to his own fractured youth. 25 years ago, in a similar dust-choked nowhere, he'd been the scared kid, abandoned after a family feud turned ugly. A grizzled biker named Elias had found him then, not with pity, but with action, a hot meal, a ride to safety, and a promise sealed over a campfire. "You keep your word, kid, and the road keeps you," Elias had said, his voice steady as the stars above. That promise had pulled Noah into the Iron Vow, a brotherhood forged in the fires of forgotten wars and unbreakable bonds. Elias was gone now, taken by a roadside ambush years back, but his memorial patch, a small embroidered silhouette of a lone rider against a sunset, still adorned Noah's cut, a silent vow to honor the lost. Liam's gaze drifted, snagging on that very patch as Noah shifted in the fading light. The boy's tears slowed, replaced by a curious tilt of his head. That's me," he murmured, pointing a trembling finger at the emblem. Noah froze, the words hanging in the air, like smoke from a dying fire. The silhouette was generic, a tribute to all the shadows they'd buried. But the way Liam said it, with a certainty that pierced the dusk, sent a chill down Noah's spine. "What do you mean, kid?" Noah asked, his tone measured. But inside, the gears of memory ground to life. Liam leaned closer, tracing the threads with wide eyes. "The man who saved me before." He had one just like this. He said he'd come back if I needed him, but he never did. The boy's voice wavered, innocence clashing with a pain too deep for his years. Noah's breath caught. It couldn't be. Elias had ridden out of that old town with a promise, but the details blurred in time's haze. Yet here was this child, mirroring a ghost from Noah's past, pointing to a symbol that bound them all. In that moment, under the sputtering neon, Noah felt the weight of oaths long dormant. He'd walked away from the club after Elias's death, haunted by failures and the corrosion of trust within its ranks, corrupt dealings that had tainted the very honor they'd sworn to uphold. But Liam's words reignited something buried, the call to ride for the forgotten, to fulfill what others had left unfinished. "I'll make sure you're safe tonight," Noah promised, the words tasting like iron on his tongue. He scooped the boy up gently, settling him on the bike's passenger seat with the bear tucked under his arm, the engine roaring back to life as they headed toward the nearest safe haven, a dimly lit diner on the highway's edge. As they rode, the wind whipping through the night, Noah's mind churned with questions. Who was this boy, really? And why did his story echo so eerily with the past? The diner's warm glow beckoned like a beacon, but Noah knew this was no random encounter. Dawn would bring decisions, calls to old brothers, perhaps even dredging up secrets that could unravel everything. For now, though, he rode with purpose, the memorial patch pressing against his back like a heartbeat, reminding him that some promises refused to die. The diner was a relic, its chrome counters gleaming under fluorescent hum, the air thick with the sizzle of bacon and fresh coffee. Noah eased Liam onto a stool, ordering pie and milk while scanning the room for threats, old habits from patrols in hostile lands. The waitress, a sturdy woman named Clara with laugh lines etched deep, eyed them curiously, but asked no questions, sliding over the food with a maternal smile. Liam devoured the slice, his small hands sticky with crust, the color returning to his cheeks. "You remind me of him," he said between bites, glancing again at the patch. Noah nodded, buying time. "Tell me more about that man. What did he look like?" Liam's description was vague, tall, bearded, eyes like storm clouds. But it stirred fragments in Noah's memory. Elias had vanished after that save, only to resurface in the club years later, carrying burdens he never fully shared. As the boy spoke, Noah pulled out his phone, dialing a number he hadn't touched in ages. The line crackled, connecting to Marcus, his former second-in-command, now leading what remained of the Iron Vow. "Noah!" "That you? Been too long, brother." The voice was warm, laced with surprise. Noah kept it low. "Got a situation. Kid in trouble, says something about Elias. You remember that run in '98? The boy we pulled from the ditch?" Silence stretched. Then Marcus's tone sharpened. "Yeah, Elias swore he'd check back, but complications. Why?" Noah glanced at Liam, now dozing against the counter. "Might be connected. I'm bringing him in. Rally the crew. Quietly. This could be bigger than us." He hung up, the promise solidifying. By morning, the road would call them all, a convoy forming from the ashes of old loyalties. But as Liam stirred, murmuring in sleep, Noah wondered if the truth behind that patch would bind them or break them apart. Outside, the night deepened, stars pricking the velvet sky like distant vows. Noah paid the bill, lifting the sleeping boy onto the bike once more. The engine's rumble was a lullaby now, carrying them toward a motel with vacancy signs glowing faintly. In the quiet hours ahead, Noah would watch over him, piecing together the puzzle. Little did he know, the boy's claim wasn't just a child's fancy. It was the key to a buried betrayal, one that threatened the very soul of the brotherhood. And as the first hints of dawn crept over the horizon, the ride had only just begun. The motel's neon sign buzzed faintly against the pre-dawn hush, its vacancy light casting a watery red glow across the parking lot, where Noah's bike stood like a sentinel under the sparse stars. He carried Liam inside, the boy's weight light as a whisper against his chest, the stuffed bear dangling limply from one small hand. The room smelled of stale smoke and cheap pine cleaner, the kind that masked deeper layers of transience. Noah laid Liam on the sagging bed, pulling a threadbare blanket over him, the fabric whispering as it settled. The child stirred only once, murmuring something about the rider coming back, before slipping into deeper sleep, his chest rising and falling in rhythmic innocence. Noah sank into the vinyl armchair by the window, the springs creaking under his frame, and rubbed a calloused hand over his beard. The memorial patch on his cut caught the dim lamplight, its embroidered silhouette seeming to shift in the shadows. A lone figure etched against an eternal sunset, symbol of Elias and all the brothers who'd ridden into the unknown. Liam's words echoed in his mind. That's me. Not a child's whim, but a spark that ignited old embers. Noah had dismissed it at first as exhaustion playing tricks, but the boy's certainty, the way his finger had traced those threads with knowing eyes, gnawed at him. Elias's stories from '98 had always been guarded, a rescue in the Badlands, a promise to a lost soul. Then silence. What if this was no coincidence? What if the past had circled back, demanding settlement? He stepped out onto the concrete balcony, the chill air nipping at his skin, pulling his phone from his pocket. The screen's blue glow cut the darkness as he scrolled through contacts, hesitating over Marcus's name. The iron vow had fractured after Elias's death, whispers of internal rot, deals gone sour with shadowy outsiders that eroded the club's code. Noah had walked away, the weight of betrayal too heavy for the road, but blood, chosen or not, called louder than pride. He hit dial, the ring-tone a low drone in the quiet night. "Noah," Marcus answered on the third ring, his voice thick with sleep but alert, like a man who'd never fully let his guard down. "You said you'd call. What's the play?" Noah leaned against the railing, gazing at the empty highway stretching into blackness. The kid, Liam, his story lines up too clean with Elias's old run. Abandoned outskirts, bruises that don't lie, and that patch. He points to it like it's his own ghost. He paused, the words tasting metallic, like blood from a reopened wound. "I need eyes on this. Quiet. No badges. No noise." Marcus exhaled slowly, the sound carrying the crackle of a distant fire. Elias never spilled details on that one, said it was personal, a debt from before the club, but if it's tied... There's talk from back then. A family feud, some lowlifes running the trailer parks. We buried it to keep the peace. His tone hardened, laced with the gravel of shared history. "I'll round up who I can trust. 5, maybe 7 riders by first light. Meet at the old crossroads, mile marker 47. But Noah, if this stirs the pot, it could drag us all under." "Understood," Noah replied, ending the call with a nod to the empty air. Trust was a fragile thing in their world, forged in foxholes and backroad oaths, but Marcus had been Elias's right hand, loyal to the bone. Noah pocketed the phone and returned inside, the door clicking shut like a vow sealed. Liam slept on, oblivious, his face smoothed of the day's terror, but Noah saw the shadows beneath, signs of a life marked by absence, by hands that should have protected but instead vanished. As the sky lightened to a bruised purple, Noah brewed coffee from the motel's ancient machine, the bitter aroma filling the room like a ritual. He sat by the bed, watching Liam wake slowly, the boy's eyes fluttering open to the unfamiliar space. Confusion flickered, then recognition, as he sat up clutching the bear. "You're still here," Liam said, voice small but steady, a thread of relief weaving through. "Promised I would be," Noah replied, handing him a mug of warm milk. "Drink up. We're getting you somewhere safe today." The boy sipped, eyes drifting again to the patch on Noah's shoulder. "He promised too. The man with the bike. Said if I ever needed him, I'd know by the sign. Liam's words hung, simple yet loaded, stirring the air like dust motes in a sunbeam. Noah knelt beside the bed, his voice low and even. "Tell me everything you remember, kid. No rush." Liam hesitated, then spoke in fits and starts. The dim trailer, shouts in the night, a father stumbling away with empty bottles, a mother who just left one day. Then the rider, tall, kind eyes behind a beard, a voice like rumbling thunder. He'd given Liam the bear, whispered about keeping strong, and pointed to his own patch. "This means you find family on the road," Elias had said, or so the boy recalled. But days turned to weeks, and the promise faded like a dream. By the time Liam finished, the first rays of sun slanted through the curtains, gilding the room in gold. Noah's mind raced, piecing fragments, Elias's unexplained absences in those early club days, the way he'd clutched that patch like a talisman. Had he fathered a child in secret, left behind in the chaos? Or was it deeper, a cover for something the club had swept under? Noah stood, decisions settling like gravel under tires. "We're riding out soon, got friends coming, real family." Liam's face brightened, a spark of hope cutting through the weariness. They stepped outside as engines growled in the distance, faint at first, then building to a chorus. 3 bikes crested the horizon, dust trails rising like banners. Marcus in the lead, flanked by 2 weathered riders, their cuts bearing the Iron Vow emblem, faded but unyielding. They pulled up in a loose formation, engines idling like patient beasts. Marcus dismounted, clasping Noah's forearm in a grip that spoke volumes. No words needed for brothers reunited. "This the kid?" Marcus asked, his gaze softening as he looked at Liam, who shrank back slightly but held his ground, bear in tow. "Yeah," Noah said, "and he's got a story that might rewrite ours." He glanced at the boy, who stared at the newcomer's patches with wide-eyed wonder. One rider, a burly man named Tyler with tattoos snaking up his arms, nodded solemnly. "We've got your back, Harlan, whatever this is." The group huddled by the bikes, the sun climbing higher, warming the air with promises of heat. Liam pointed again, this time at Marcus's cut. "All of you, you're like him." The men exchanged looks, a silent current of realization passing. Marcus crouched down, eye level with the boy. "Then we're family now, son. Let's ride." As they mounted up, Noah lifting Liam onto his bike, the convoy formed, a small but fierce line against the awakening desert. The engines roared to life, a thunder that shook the motel's windows, carrying them west toward hidden truths. But in the rear view, Noah caught a glint. A distant vehicle too sleek for these roads, watching. The betrayal Elias had hinted at wasn't buried. It was stirring, and the road ahead twisted with shadows of what might come. Loyalty would be tested, promises weighed, but for the first time in years, Noah felt the pull of purpose, the iron vow binding them tighter than chains. The ride deepened, secrets unraveling with every mile. The sun climbed relentlessly over the jagged horizon, turning the desert into a furnace of shimmering heat waves that distorted the road ahead like a fever dream. Noah's bike led the small convoy, Liam's slight form pressed against his back, the boy's arms wrapped tight around his waist, the stuffed bear wedged between them like a talisman. The engine's steady thrum vibrated through Noah's bones, a rhythm that synced with the pulse of old memories resurfacing. Elias's voice in the wind, gravelly and sure, recounting tales of rides that saved souls. Behind them, Marcus and Tyler flanked the group, their bikes growling in harmony, dust plumes rising like veils over the cracked blacktop. The air whipped past, carrying the sharp tang of hot rubber and parched earth, but Noah's focus sharpened on the rearview mirror, where that sleek shadow from the motel lingered at the edge of sight. A black sedan, too polished for these back roads, trailing just far enough to deny pursuit, but close enough to unsettle. They pushed west toward the old crossroads, mile marker 47, a forgotten junction where rusted signs pointed to ghost towns long swallowed by sand. Noah eased off the throttle as the marker loomed, its faded numbers peeling like old skin under the relentless light. The convoy pulled into a loose circle amid a cluster of weathered boulders, engines cutting to a hush that amplified the distant buzz of cicadas and the faint creak of cooling metal. Liam slid off the bike, his sneakers kicking up puffs of dust, eyes wide as he took in the vast emptiness. "This is where we wait?" he asked, voice barely above the wind, clutching the bear closer. Noah nodded, dismounting with a grunt, his boots sinking into the soft ground. "For more family, ones who'll help us figure this out." He glanced at Marcus, who was already scanning the horizon through mirrored shades, his leather cut creased from years of hard leans. Tyler, broader and quieter, handed out water bottles from his saddlebag, the plastic sweating in the heat. The group settled against the rocks, the sun baking their shadows shorter with each passing minute. Liam perched on a low stone, tracing patterns in the dirt with a stick, his earlier fear ebbing into a watchful curiosity. But Noah couldn't shake the itch at the back of his neck. The sedan had vanished around a bend, but its presence hung like unspoken doubt. Marcus broke the silence first, pulling a worn photo from his inner pocket, a faded snapshot of Elias, younger, grinning beside a row of bikes under a stormy sky. "If the kid's tied to 98, this might jog something." He handed it to Liam, who studied it intently, the boy's brow furrowing. "That's him," Liam whispered, finger hovering over Elias's face. "The beard's shorter, but those eyes. He said his name was the one who'd always come." The words landed like stones in still water, rippling through the men. Tyler leaned in, his tattooed arms crossed. Elias pulled kids out of worse spots back then. Trailer trash feuds, bad blood with locals, but he never mentioned a son or anything like that. Noah took the photo, the edges frayed from countless folds, Elias's gaze staring back with that unyielding resolve. He kept secrets close. After the ambush that took him, we found letters, half-burned, no names. Talked about a promise left hanging, something about protecting what the road gave him. The air thickened with the weight of it, the desert silence pressing in. Liam looked up, his voice gaining strength. "He gave me this bear after the yelling stopped. Said it was from his own dad, passed down. And the patch, he touched it, said it meant I'd never be alone if I remembered." The boy's eyes glistened. Not with tears now, but a fierce spark, as if voicing it made the ghost real. Before anyone could respond, a low rumble echoed from the east. Not bikes, but something heavier, mechanical, grinding over the uneven terrain. The men tensed, hands instinctively drifting to concealed holsters, years of instinct kicking in. From behind a rise, two more riders crested into view, Jacob and Ryan, old Iron Vow stalwarts, their machines kicking up gravel as they joined the circle, but trailing them, dust-caked and ominous, was a dusty pickup truck, its bed loaded with shadowed figures. It braked hard, doors slamming as four men spilled out, rough types in faded flannels, faces hardened by sun and suspicion, one clutching a shotgun loosely at his side. "You, Harlan," the leader barked. A lanky man, with a scar twisting his lip, stepping forward with the swagger of false authority. His eyes flicked to Liam, narrowing. "Heard you picked up strays. That boy's ours, family business. Hand him over, no trouble." Noah rose slowly, positioning himself between the group and the newcomers, his stance unyielding as the boulders around them. Marcus and Tyler shifted subtly, a wall of leather and resolve. Liam shrank back, but Noah's voice cut steady, low like distant thunder. "Family? Looks more like you left him to the wolves. Kid's got a story, and it don't end with you." The scarred man sneered, gesturing to his crew. "Trailer park rules. His pa owed debts, booze and bad bets. We came to collect, found the place empty. Boys' leverage. Now he's pointing fingers at ghosts, stirring up your kind. He spat into the dust, the glob darkening the earth. Jacob muttered under his breath, but Noah held up a hand, eyes locked. Leverage? That's what you call bruises and abandonment? Elias taught us better. Road, don't forgive that. Tension coiled like a spring, the sun beating down mercilessly, sweat tracing paths down temples. Liam stepped forward unexpectedly, small but defiant, pointing at the men's belts, faded emblems, knockoffs of club patches, symbols of wannabe loyalty. You yelled at him, at my dad. The rider came then too, said you'd pay one day. The words hung, a child's truth slicing through the bluster. The scarred man's face paled, a flicker of recognition, or fear, crossing his features. Ryan's engine revved once, a warning growl, and the standoff teetered. Walk away, Noah said, voice ironclad, or we ride this out proper. The men exchanged glances, the shotgun dipping slightly. After a beat that stretched eternal, the leader backed toward the truck, muttering curses. This ain't over. Debts follow. They piled in, tires spinning as they retreated, leaving a wake of dust that settled like uneasy truce. The convoy exhaled collectively, but Noah's gaze returned to the horizon, where the black sedan reappeared, idling at a distance before peeling away. Marcus clapped his shoulder. That was them, from the old feud. Elias crossed paths, buried it to protect whoever he saved. Liam tugged Noah's sleeve. He saved me before. You're saving me now. The boy's certainty sealed it. A promise echoed across years, binding the riders tighter. As more engines approached, reinforcements swelling their numbers to 12 strong, the group mounted up, the roar drowning doubts. They rode deeper into the Badlands, toward a hidden safe house whispered in club lore, where truths could surface without eyes watching. But the shadows lengthened, and Noah knew the real test loomed, unraveling Elias's legacy before the past's debts caught up, demanding blood or redemption. The road twisted ahead, carrying them toward revelations that would test every vow they'd ever sworn. The Badlands unfolded like a scarred canvas under the midday blaze, canyons of red rock slicing the horizon into jagged teeth that gnawed at the sky. The convoy snaked through a narrow pass, 12 bikes now in tight formation, their engines a low symphony against the wind's relentless howl. Noah rode point, Liam's warmth a steady anchor against his back, the boys' breaths sinking with the rise and fall of the throttle. Dust devils swirled in their wake, veiling the trail like secrets half buried, while the air thickened with the metallic bite of heated stone and the faint, acrid whisper of distant wildfires. Marcus and Tyler bookended the group, eyes scanning the flanks, while Jacob and Ryan brought up the rear, their silhouettes cutting sharp against the shimmering heat. The safe house emerged from a cleft in the cliffs, a squat adobe bunker half swallowed by the earth. Its walls weathered to the color of dried blood, vines of thorny mesquite clawed at the door, and a single windmill creaked lazily overhead, pumping water from some hidden aquifer into a trough that mirrored the cloudless vault above. Noah signaled the halt, engines fading to murmurs as the riders dismounted, boots thudding on packed dirt. Liam slid down, his sneakers silent on the ground, clutching the bear as he gazed at the structure with wide-eyed caution. "Is this home?" he asked, voice threading through the sudden quiet like a fragile hope. "For now," Noah replied, his hand resting lightly on the boy's shoulder, a gesture both protective and grounding. The weight of the morning's standoff lingered, the scarred man's retreat, the black sedan's ghosting presence. But here, in this forgotten nook, the Iron Vow's old network offered sanctuary. Marcus led the way inside, the door groaning on rusted hinges to reveal a dim interior, scarred wooden tables, shelves lined with canned goods and faded maps, the air cool and musty with the scent of aged leather and gun oil. Sunlight slanted through narrow slits in the walls, casting bars of gold that danced with motes of dust, illuminating a central hearth long cold. The riders settled in, claims staked with saddlebags and quiet efficiency. Tyler fired up a propane stove, the hiss of flames birthing the aroma of reheated stew. Simple fare from club stashes, chunks of meat and root vegetables simmering in iron. Liam hovered near Noah, accepting a bowl with tentative fingers, the steam curling up to soften his features. As the group ate, conversation flowed in low currents, voices gravelly from the road. Jacob, lean and sharp-eyed with a scar tracing his jaw, unfolded a battered ledger from a hidden compartment. Elias logged runs like this one. 98 entries vague. Rescue, outskirts, promise sealed. No names, but cross-referenced with the trailer feuds. Those lowlifes we chased off. They're remnants of the Dust Devils, a splinter crew that tangled with us back then. Elias stepped in, pulled strings to bury it. Ryan nodded, spoon pausing midway to his mouth, his broad frame filling the bench. Buried deep. Heard whispers he cut a deal, kept the kids safe by feeding them false trails. But if Liam's that boy... His gaze shifted to the child, who ate steadily. Oblivious to the undercurrents, Noah set his bowl aside, the ceramic clinking like a punctuation. He recognized the patch. Said Elias gave him the bear, promised return. What if he left more than a vow, a blood tie? The question hung, stirring the air like embers from the unlit fire. Marcus leaned forward, elbows on the table, his face shadowed by the low light. Elias was a vault. After the ambush, we found that patch half torn, blood on it, not his, like he was shielding something personal. If the boy's his, or tied close, those debts the Scarface mentioned could be leverage against us all. Corrupt badges in those parts turned blind eyes for payoffs. Might be why the sedan's sniffing. Liam looked up then, bowl empty, his eyes reflecting the flickering lantern they'd lit. He told stories about you all. Riders who fix things without yelling, said one day I'd ride with them. The simplicity pierced the room. A child's faith cutting through the men's guarded layers. Tyler chuckled softly, the sound rumbling deep. Kid's got spirit. Reminds me of Elias's first pull. Saved a whole family from a flash flood, no questions. But Noah's mind churned deeper. Fragments aligning, Elias's late-night rides alone, the way he'd clutch letters by firelight, eyes distant as the stars. Redemption wasn't just for the lost. It was for the saviors who carried ghosts. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the shutters like impatient fingers. Noah stepped to a slit window, peering into the lengthening shadows where the sun dipped toward the canyon rims, painting the rocks in fiery strokes. The convoy's bikes stood in a defensive arc, chrome glinting like drawn blades. A faint engine hum pricked his ears, not theirs, but approaching, deliberate. He signaled Marcus, who joined him, both men tensing as a lone figure on a dusty cruiser crested the rise. Not an enemy, the cut was iron vow, faded but true. The rider pulled up, helmet off, revealing a woman in her 30s, wind-tousled hair framing a face marked by quiet resolve. Sarah, a medic from the club's outer circle, her skills forged in war zones and back-alley clinics. "Got your call through channels," she said, dismounting with fluid grace, her boots kicking up fine red dust. "Heard about the kid. Brought supplies. And news." Inside, she unpacked a medkit, checking Liam gently for hidden hurts. Her touch professional yet kind. The boy submitted without protest, even smiling faintly as she bandaged a scrape on his knee. "Clean bill, mostly. Signs of old neglect, but he's tough." Then lower to Noah. "Word spreading. That sedan's local muscle for a bigger fish. Some developer eyeing these lands tied to old club beefs. They think the boy's key to leverage, proof of Elias's interference that cost them deals." The revelation settled like dust after a storm, binding the group tighter. Jacob traced routes on the map, plotting paths to evade watchers, while Ryan and Tyler reinforced the door with barricades of crates. Liam, bandaged and fed, wandered to Noah's side, pointing to Sarah's patch, another memorial silhouette. See? Family. Noah knelt, the floorboards creaking under him. Yeah, kid. The kind that keeps promises. In that moment, the safe house felt less like hiding and more like a forge, hammering vows anew. As twilight bled into the sky, stars emerging like hesitant witnesses, the group gathered around the table. Stories flowed, Elias's legends retold, laughs punctuating the gravity, Liam's eyes alight with belonging. But Noah's gaze lingered on the door, the wind's moan carrying hints of pursuit. The truth about the patch, about Liam's claim, teetered on revelation's edge. One wrong turn, and the shadows would close in, testing loyalties forged in fire. Yet here, amid the chosen kin, redemption whispered possible. Not in grand clashes, but in the quiet honor of standing firm. The night deepened, engines silent but ready, the road's call echoing in their veins. If this chapter's pulling at your heartstrings, showing the unbreakable bonds of chosen family, smash that like button to help spread these stories of quiet courage and kept promises. Your support keeps the ride going. The night wrapped the safe house in a shroud of velvet darkness, broken only by the lantern's amber flicker that painted elongated shadows across the adobe walls, like fingers reaching from forgotten corners. The wind outside had stilled to a whisper, carrying the faint, earthy scent of cooling stone and distant creosote bushes, a deceptive calm after the day's relentless heat. Inside, the group huddled around the scarred table, the stew's remnants congealing in bowls, steam long dissipated into the musty air. Liam sat cross-legged on a worn rug, the stuffed bear propped beside him like a silent sentinel, his small face illuminated in soft glows as he listened to the riders' tales. Noah leaned against the wall, arms crossed over his leather cut, the memorial patch a subtle weight against his chest, its silhouette now a riddle demanding answers. Sarah's words lingered, her voice steady as she unpacked the last of her supplies. A small vial of pain relief tucked into her kit, the clink of glass echoing softly. The developer's name is Harlan Tate. No relation to you, Noah, but the irony bites. He's been buying up these Badlands for some resort scheme, greasing palms from county lines to club fringes. Word is, Elias's old interference stepping into that trailer feud cost him a deal back in '98, land rights tangled with family claims. If Liam's the link, Tate's using shadows to pull strings, making the boy a pawn in erasing loose ends. Her eyes, sharp with the clarity of someone who'd patched wounds in the dead of night, met Noah's. The room absorbed the revelation, the air thickening with the gravity of buried histories resurfacing like bones from dry soil. Marcus rubbed his jaw, the rasp of stubble audible in the quiet. His gaze drifting to the map splayed before them, lines etched like veins across the paper. Elias always said the road demands payment deferred. If Tate's behind the sedan and those dust devil holdouts, we're riding into a web. Not just debts, corruption that twists justice into knots. Tyler nodded, his massive frame shifting on the bench with a creak, while Jacob traced a finger along an escape route, murmuring about hidden trails known only to the old guard. Ryan, ever the quiet anchor, handed Liam a strip of jerky, the boy's tentative bite breaking the tension with a child's unfiltered hunger. But Noah felt the pull deeper. Elias's ghost woven into every thread, the promise to a lost soul, the patch as a beacon, now claiming Liam as its echo. Liam's voice cut through, small but clear, drawing all eyes. The man, Elias, he drew this for me once. He rummaged in the bear's worn seam, pulling out a crumpled scrap of paper, yellowed and folded tight. The group leaned in as he unfolded it, the paper crackling like dry leaves. There, in faded pencil, was a rough sketch, a silhouette of a rider against a sunset, identical to the memorial patch, with tiny words scrawled beneath. Find the vow. You're never alone. Gasps rippled, soft as breaths held too long. Sarah's hand paused mid-motion, her medic's poise cracking with wonder. That's his hand, she whispered, recognizing the angular script from letters Elias had left in camp after runs. Noah took the paper, fingers tracing the lines, the texture rough under his calluses, stirring a storm within. Kid, where'd you keep this all these years? Liam's eyes, wide and earnest, met Noah's without flinching. Inside the bear, like he said, after he left the yelling came back. Dad fought with them, the men in the truck, said Elias owed for meddling. Then Dad was gone, and they said I'd pay instead. The words spilled, a dam breaking, revealing fragments of a life pieced from fear and fleeting kindness. The riders exchanged glances, the weight of Elias's unspoken legacy settling like dust after a gale. He'd fathered no acknowledged heirs, but this, a secret safeguard, a boy marked by the club's symbol, spoke of deeper bonds, a redemption Elias had carried alone until the ambush claimed him. Marcus's voice broke the hush, rough with emotion. He built this for you, son. The vow's your shield now. Outside, the wind stirred again, a low moan rattling the shutters, as if the desert itself sensed the shifting tides. Noah stepped to the door, cracking it to peer into the star-pricked void, the cool night air brushing his face like a caution. The bikes gleamed faintly under moonlight, silent guardians, but a distant glint caught his eye. Headlights flickering on the canyon rim, brief as a predator's blink before vanishing. Tate's reach or the dust devil's regrouping, the safe house's isolation, once a strength, now felt like a cage closing. He shut the door with a soft thud, turning back to the group. We can't stay pinned. Dawn, we move, deeper into the canyons, to the old well site. Elias marked it as neutral ground once. There, we confront whatever's chasing. The plan wove through the night, voices low and deliberate, mapping paths that skirted watchers and wove through labyrinthine rock. Sarah checked Liam once more, her touch lingering on the boy's forehead, cool and reassuring. Rest now. Family watches over you. Liam nodded, curling up on a pallet of blankets, the sketch clutched in his fist, sleep claiming him with the ease of trust reborn. The riders took shifts, Noah first at the window, the lantern dimmed to embers. In the quiet, memories flooded, Elias by a campfire, patching wounds with stories of honor's quiet victories, teaching that true strength lay in keeping the forgotten safe. Noah's scars ached faintly, reminders of battles lost and vows strained. But here, with brothers and a child echoing the past, purpose reignited, a fire banked but unquenched. As hours bled toward pre-dawn, the group stirred, packing with efficient silence, saddlebags zipped like sealed oaths. Liam woke to the murmur of engines priming, rubbing sleep from his eyes as Noah lifted him toward the bike. Ready to ride with us? The boy grinned, the first real spark since the gas station, tucking the sketch into his pocket. Like he promised. The convoy formed under the paling stars, 12 strong now, with Sarah joining the line on her cruiser, her medkit strapped secure. Engines growled to life, a chorus that vibrated through the earth, drowning the night's whispers as they rolled out, tires gripping the sandy trail into the canyon's maw. But as they crested the first rise, the black sedan materialized from a side gully, blocking the narrow pass, its headlights blazing like accusatory eyes. Behind it, the dusty pickup from the crossroads idled, figures spilling out once more, shadows lengthening in the half-light. The scarred leader stepped forward, shotgun in hand, voice carrying over the idling roar. End of the line, vow. The boys coming with us. Proof for the boss. Elias's mess gets clean tonight. Tension crackled, engines revving in warning, the air electric with the precipice of confrontation. Noah killed his bike, dismounting slow, the group mirroring him in a wall of resolve. Liam clung to his leg, but his whisper was fierce. "They can't have me. The patch says no." Noah's hand rested on the boy's shoulder, eyes locked on the threat. "This ends with truth, not force. Stand down, or the road judges you." The standoff stretched, hearts pounding like distant thunder, the desert holding its breath. In that fragile balance, loyalties teetered, Elias's promise the thread that could weave redemption or unravel all. The dawn light crept closer, illuminating choices that would define them forever. The iron vow's honor hanging in the balance of one child's unyielding claim. The dawn light fractured over the canyon rims, splintering into shafts of pale gold that pierced the gathering dust, turning the narrow pass into a corridor of stark contrasts, shadows pooling like ink in the crevices, the red rock walls rising sheer and unforgiving. The convoy's engines idled in a tense growl, a living barrier against the blockade ahead, where the black sedan's high beams cut through the half-light like accusatory lances. The dusty pickup flanked it, its bed sagging under the weight of grim figures. The scarred leader at the fore, shotgun leveled low but steady, his face a mask of scarred defiance, etched deeper by the emerging sun. Behind him, 3 others shifted uneasily, their postures betraying the frayed edges of borrowed bravado, flannel shirts dust-caked, eyes darting to the iron vow riders forming an unyielding line. Noah stood at the center, Liam's small hand gripping his belt, the boy's breath quick but his stance rooted. The crumpled sketch from the bear now tucked safe in Noah's pocket like a talisman of truths unspoken. "Last chance," the scarred man called, his voice cracking over the engine's rumble, laced with the false authority of a man cornered by his own echoes. The kid's leverage for Tate. Elias poked the bear back then, stole land deals by hiding that trailer mess. Boy knows too much. Points fingers at the wrong ghosts. Hand him over, and we all walk. The words hung in the crisp air, carrying the faint tang of exhaust and overheated metal, but they rang hollow against the canyon's vast silence. Noah's gaze held steady, the memorial patch on his cut catching a glint of light, its silhouette a silent rebuke. Marcus flanked him left, hand hovering near his hip without drawing, while Tyler and Ryan anchored the right, their broad forms a wall of quiet menace. Sarah, poised on her bike, scanned the group with a medic's eye, ready for fallout, and Jacob idled at the rear, engine purring like a watchful hound. Liam's whisper cut upward, fierce and clear. "They lie." Elias said, "Truth rides louder than guns." Noah raised a hand, signaling the engines to hush completely. The sudden quiet, amplifying the wind's soft sigh through the rocks, a moment stretched thin as a taut wire. He stepped forward alone, boots crunching on gravel, closing the gap without haste, his voice low but carrying like distant thunder rolling off the walls. "Truth? Let's hear it then. Elias didn't steal. He saved, pulled a boy from your kind's shadows, buried your dirt to keep innocence breathing. That mess was you, running rough on families for scraps, twisting debts into chains. Tate's just the puppet master now, greasing wheels to swallow these lands whole." The scarred man's eyes flickered, a crack in the facade, as Noah pulled the sketch from his pocket, holding it aloft like evidence in a courtroom of stone. The paper fluttered slightly in the breeze, Elias's handwriting stark against the yellowed field. This is his mark. The boy carried it all these years. Says you're the ones who drove his father off. Yelling, threats, leaving a child to the dust. Murmurs rippled through the antagonists, the shotgun dipping as recognition dawned on one of the figures, a wiry man with faded tattoos peeking from his sleeve, remnants of old allegiances. That rider. He cut us off, fed us trails to nowhere, said the kid was under vow protection, or we'd all burn. The scarred leader snarled, but his grip loosened, sweat beading on his brow despite the cooling air. From the sedan, a door creaked open, a suited figure emerging, tall, slick-haired Harlan Tate himself, his polished shoes absurd against the grit. He adjusted his tie, voice smooth as oil over gravel. "This is business, Harlan. Old feuds die quiet. The boy's testimony, whatever he claims, ties my projects to scandals. Sign him over, and I make the corruption vanish. No badges, no records." Noah's laugh was short, bitter, echoing off the rocks like a challenge. "Business? You mean buying silence with blood money, turning honor into ash?" Elias saw through it. "Road for the forgotten because men like you poison the road. Liam's no pawn. He's the promise we all swore. Family chosen, not born." He turned slightly, nodding to Liam, who stepped up beside him, small but unbowed, pointing at Tate with the same certainty he'd shown the patch. "You sent them. After Elias left, they came yelling about debts. Said Dad had to go away because of the rider. But he promised I'd find you all. The vow. And here you are." The words landed like pebbles starting an avalanche, the canyon seeming to hold its breath, the first birdsong piercing the tension as light flooded the pass fully. Tate's composure fractured, his eyes darting to the scarred man, who lowered the shotgun entirely, shoulders slumping under the weight of exposed lies. "Kid's right," the wiry one muttered, stepping back. "Elias warned us. Mess with his, and the whole club rides. Tate paid us scraps to dig this up, but it's rotting us now." Whispers turned to retreat, the group edging toward their vehicles. The pickup's door slamming like concession. Tate lingered, face paling, as Marcus pulled out a small recorder from his cut, discreet, capturing every word, every threat. "This hits the right ears, clean ones, not yours, and your empire crumbles. Walk, Tate. The road don't need your shadows." The developer hesitated, the dawn's warmth now a spotlight on his unraveling poise. Before sliding back into the sedan, engine whining to life, the vehicles peeled away, tires spinning dust devils that swirled and dissipated like defeated spirits, leaving the pass clear under the climbing sun. The convoy exhaled, engines reigniting in a victorious rumble that shook the stones. But Noah knelt to Liam's level, the boy's eyes shining with a mix of awe and relief. "You did it, kid. Kept the promise alive." Liam hugged him fiercely, the bear pressed between them, whispering, "We're family now, like he said." The group mounted up, the formation tighter than before, Sarah's bike weaving seamlessly into the line as they rolled deeper into the canyons, toward open roads and safer horizons, a network of allies waiting to shelter and rebuild. Marcus clapped Noah's shoulder mid-ride, the wind whipping their words away, but the nod said enough. Redemption forged, loyalty unbroken. Elias's ghost rode with them, the memorial patch no longer a shadow, but a beacon, binding past to present in threads of quiet honor. Liam's laughter carried on the breeze, a sound pure as the vast sky above, as the iron vow thundered forward. Promises fulfilled, justice poetic in its silence, the family chosen enduring against all corrosion. As the miles blurred into healing distance, Noah glanced back once, the past shrinking to a scar on the earth. The ride wasn't over, but the weight had lifted, secrets aired like smoke from a cleared fire. In the brotherhood's embrace, Liam found not just safety, but legacy. A boy no longer lost, but claimed by the road's unyielding vow. Thank you for riding with us through this tale of promises kept and families forged in the dust. If Noah and Liam's story touched your soul, hit that subscribe button and join the convoy for more stories of quiet courage. Your support keeps these northern confessions rolling across the miles.